Let me make sure I got my sound and everything going.
Okay, so welcome back to Practical Pedagogy, which are brain-based strategies for immediate classroom implementation, especially in light of everything that's virtual or hybrid. So we're excited to have you joining us today for the Niswonger Remote Learning Series. Sessions provide educators opportunities to extend and refine their practices of engaging students, either in remote or online learning. We showcase high-impact practices, model strategies, we'll share some resources, and highlight some ways to facilitate effective remote learning. Although obviously all of these things are also applicable to the in-class classroom. So my name's Tracy Ballou, as you know, and this is Candace Herman co-presenting with me, and we appreciate you being here with us. So this particular session is about movement. So it'll be a little bit of higher energy, and we're excited about it. So we named it, I like to move it, activating the body to activate the mind. So our brain-based strategies address research of the brain that informs our classroom strategies of movement while engaging students in our learning. And just a reminder about Zoom, your little boxes are mobile. You can move us to the side or up top. If you would, feel free to mute and or unmute when needed. So if you have background noise, mute, and if you want to speak, unmute. So Erlene, if you'll try something with us, if you'll find the three little blue dots above if you'll find your square where your head is on the Brady Bunch, and you'll push the three little blue dots, you will be able to rename yourself. And if I remember correctly, you're a French teacher. So does that mean that you are all grades 9 through 12? So just give it a try. Okay, just give it a try and try to rename yourself. If you push the three little dots, like for example, I'll do it. I'll push the three little dots and I can rename myself. And if I were a 7th grade teacher, I would put a 7 in front of Tracy. So that's what I'm going to do. And then we'll see how that looks. So this is just one way that we'll get to later that you can group your students. If you're in a Google Meet or a Zoom with your students and you want to put them in separate groups, this is one way you could do that, either assigning a number or you could do their birth month number, something like that. It's just an easy, quick grouping way that we've utilized before on the Zoom platform, especially if you're using different breakout rooms or activities that the kids group up to do. And that kind of goes also back to our last session on collaboration. So again, this is Candace and myself, and we're happy to be here. We both are rural life literacy coaches. And again, our materials, Candace has a QR code in the corner of this screen, or you can go back to the Rural Life website, which is what you access to get to this webinar today. And all of the materials, as well as the recording of the session, will be online shortly. And I believe that also we have a link in the chat. You could just click on that and open that Google site right now. So our goals for this mini session are to explore the brain science that supports movement in the classroom, experience some virtual movement strategies for ourselves, and then select movement strategies to implement either in class or via remote learning. And you've been with us for several of these. So our first session was about chunking our material. Our second session was about visuals. Last week we did collaborative activities, and today we're going to finalize our deep dive with movement. So all of these things will be represented again in our deep dive on October 1st. Brain-based learning refers to teaching methods, lessons, and school programs that are based upon the latest scientific research. Research about how the brain learns, including factors such as cognitive development, how students mature and learn differently as they age, mature socially, emotionally, and cognitively. So some of these that you'll see are applicable throughout their school career, but they may change a little bit as they grow and age and mature. So Candace is going to get us started with a little activator, a little activity.
I'm a little bit nervous because she said it was like high energy. I don't know how high energy it's going to be, like 4 p.m., but like we'll try it out and see what we come up with. So we're going to continue our thinking about how movement supports learning. And we'll engage in this short activity to allow participants and students, if you want to adapt it for your kids in class, it gives us the chance to move a bit. While acknowledging who we are and what we might bring to the table as learners or simply as individuals. So take just a moment to think about the inanimate objects in your space right now. What around you might best represent who you are? Is there anything that represents a hobby or interest, some aspect of your personality, or maybe something that reflects you as a learner? So you're going to take 2 minutes to find that item and then report back here to share. So once again, we're thinking about something in our physical space, wherever we are right now, that best represents us. And we have 2 minutes to like completely wreck your environment and come back here and share. So 2 minutes. So on your mark, get set, go. Okay, guys, that was our timer. Sorry. If your space is anything like mine, it's like already an absolute wreck anyway. So I can't see my video right now. Tracy, are we all still here?
Yes, we're all back. Yes.
Okay, thanks. So that was fun, or at the very least a little bit messy. I tried to do that. I called Tracy like a few minutes before we started this, and I was like, I haven't got my item yet. So I tried to do this like authentically with you so that it wouldn't be too rehearsed. So you can't see it right now, but like everything around me with the exception of this is an authentic mess right now. So you guys feel free to unmute or share your video if you're not already, or you can use chat if you're more comfortable with that. So we're just find a way that you want to share out. Let me go ahead and move through here just as a reminder that you can unmute and all that. So I'll start by sharing out a couple things. So I have like some generic stuff in here. Like I have like a family photo. Like I love my family, but I was like, wah. So I kept kind of looking. Ariel is like going to be our theme for a 5-year-old's birthday party. So she's occupying like at least 50% of my brain right now. Like it's mermaids, unicorns, and glitter forever at my house with my 5-year-old. Coffee. Do I need to even explain it? Coffee. Okay, but as I was like making this huge mess in my house, because that's where I am right now, I came across a Jenga block. I don't know if you know Jenga. It's, you build like a tower out of these blocks, and you try not to knock it over as you pull it out. So like if you enjoy anxiety, games that induce anxiety, Jenga is for you. But the reason I selected this is because it made me think of that phrase, a square peg. Like I can do geometry. I know that's a rectangle, but it made me think of like a square peg in a round hole. And I thought, oh yes, Miss Herman, that is you. Take that up to your meeting right now. Because listen, we won't get into like a therapy session or anything, but I don't know. I've just always felt kind of like a little bit weird, a little bit quirky, and some people get that and vibe with it and other people don't, and that's okay too. But I was like, yes, square peg. So the analogy kind of worked for me. And it may be something totally different, probably is for you, but that's what I ended up with. Tracy, do you care? I can't really see you right now, but do you care to go ahead and share out what you ended up with? Thank you.
Sure. I chose a book. So I felt like this represents me in a couple ways. And I did almost grab a picture of my kiddos, but then I thought, no, a book. So obviously I have been an English teacher for several years, but also I love reading. I always have a book. I'm always in the middle of and sometimes it's slower than others, you know, like when we start back to school. But during the summer, I go through them so quickly, I can't stand it. So I chose a book.
I'll share. I also chose a book. I'm reading Humble Inquiry. It's actually the second time I've read it. It's all about just how to come into a conversation and like this level of humility where you're asking questions because you really want to know, not because you're trying to manipulate, not because you're wanting anything other than just to know more about who you're with. And it's personal or professional. And then another book, which is not really a book, but it's my planner. I mean, this represents me because I love a good checkbox. I love to be able to check off things as I get them done. And I like this planner because it's also a reflective planner. So it's all sorts of other prompts that help me think about gratitude, things I'm looking forward to, highlights of my day, and things that I want to improve about my practice. So that's totally who I am as somebody who loves just improvement in general.
Thank you. Thank you. Erlene, I saw that you got up. Did you want to share what you found?
Yeah, so I'm in my classroom. So I have an Eiffel Tower.
Yes.
I don't know which student made this, but not mine because it's from last year, but I was living in Paris. So there's my, homage to Paris. And then I have my metro map. So this is the only decoration that I've brought into my room so far, since I don't have to decorate it yet because the kids are not here. And I think that this is not just the city of Paris, but I think it represents me because it's so visual and so colorful. And,
Yes.
and I think that this is the way I learn, right? I need to have stuff on the wall. I need to have different colors. I need to have arrows pointing. I'm a mover as well. So that's why this is so interesting for me. If you give me a bunch of lines on a piece of paper, I'm like, no, I don't, I don't respond well to that. Although I do like to read, I read a lot, but I don't think it's the best way that I learn. So, yeah.
Thank you.
I think that's cool too that you pulled that in, you know, because I think you were in that last session we did with visuals, because you hang around with us for just a little while to kind of discuss that. So that's really interesting. That's kind of cool too that you understand, at least as an adult, the best way for you or what you think is most beneficial. I'm going to go ahead and share screen again. I just took it off just so that I could see you guys. Maybe I am. Well, here we go. Tracy, can you guys see Mickey making a mess?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
We're back.
Thank you guys for sharing out. Y'all are so academic. You brought something so studious. Like 2 of the things I scrambled to find ended up being toys. So let that be an indicator of like who I am. But y'all did. Thanks for chiming in, you guys. So this activity that we just did, that got us moving, and it sent oxygen to our brains, priming us for the learning that we're going to experience the rest of the session. So the video on the next slide is going to provide us with some further research on the benefits of movement. Excuse me. So as we watch this short video, we'll ask ourselves, what about the research presented in this clip is most surprising? And then we'll share out in chat, or just we can unmute if we would prefer. You can also share it in chat while the video plays if you prefer. And I feel like some of the research goes by a little bit quickly on this, so I'll debrief, I'll review it a little bit if you feel like you maybe missed a portion of it. We'll go ahead and take a look at this really quick video. ahead and bring us back to our session, because I think that video is having just a little bit of difficulty playing. It keeps looping back around. But like I said, I'll review some of that information with you. And Tracy, if you don't mind monitoring that chat just in case I overlook.
Absolutely.
Thank you. So some of the research in this video, it reminds us of a few things. So aerobically fit students, according to this research, they're more likely to pass the state standardized test regardless of weight and SES. So if you're physically fit, you did well on a test regardless of your background. Another detail that they mentioned, it was suggested that students who experience short bouts of physical activity in class have more on-task behavior. So if I were doing this activity as a participant, and even when I viewed this would have been something as a classroom teacher that that research would have surprised me, because it seems kind of counterintuitive to a lot of us who believe that when kids do move around in class, it's too hard to get them back on task. So I'm just going to let them stay in their seats. And so this research was showing us that, like, well, actually that short burst of movement, that gets, again, that oxygen moving to their brain, gets them moving, and it actually ends up having them, your students, be more on task. And so the last detail, I'm not sure if you got a chance to see that, was that physical activity results in neural connectivity, which contributes to memory and learning. So when we move around, we're building those neural pathways, and then that, of course, is going to impact learning. Tracy, is there anything in chat that anyone wanted to discuss regarding that research? Anything that surprised any of us?
No, but if you guys feel free and you do want to, feel free to unmic too. It doesn't have to just be the chat box, but no textual comments yet.
Okay.
I just have an anecdote.
Sure.
I was teaching, I think they were like 8 to 10 years old, like a summer thing in Atlanta one year, and they would not sit still in their, it was a summer school thing, so they would not sit still in their chairs, and I couldn't get them to calm down, and I was like, okay, tell me, what do you want to do? And this one said, we want to scream. And all the kids went, yeah, we want to scream. And I was like, go for it, just go. And they all like screamed so loud that other teachers came like, what's going on? What's wrong? And I was like, nothing. They just, and then they were fine. And it was like they needed to get out whatever this thing was. And then they were like, they had their catharsis, and then they were like, then they could settle down. So yeah, I was vocal in that sense, but some of them got very physical in their screaming. So we're just,
well, inevitably that increased their blood flow. So yes, I feel like that as an adult sometimes too, don't you?
Yeah, sometimes you just got to get it out. And I feel like the little people land, like the elementary school teachers, I think they do such a fine job of acknowledging a lot of this research, you know, going back to some of the previous sessions we've talked about with collaboration, visuals, and even chunking, but then also this movement. Like when I drop off my little girl at school, I notice all the stuff they have go, like they're doing all of this, a lot of the younger, the teachers of younger people. And, you know, you've heard them say, get the wiggles out and stand by your desk and kind of stretch. So I think that we have a lot to learn from those folks. So that's kind of interesting as well. We'll engage in the activity on the next slide to see how we can make the research that we saw in this short video, how we can make that research work for us in the classroom setting, if we're traditional or even if we have like a remote situation. So Tracy, if you don't mind, can you drop the link to that Google Doc so that everyone can have access to these hyperlinks here? Because I realize you're just looking at it on a screen right now. But on this slide, you'll notice that we're going to actually address 2 strategies. We're looking at total physical response and simulations. So as a participant, you'll select one of the videos from each strategy to explore. So you'll have a total of 2 videos you'll watch on your respective devices, because you may choose different things, and we want to let you have the option of selecting the videos that complement your own grade band and your content area. So you might notice that the A's on each of these, they focus on elementary grades, whereas the B's address secondary content. So again, you're free to check out whichever ones that you want, but just notice if you're wanting to kind of like hone in on your content area or your grade band, that might help you narrow it down a bit. So you feel free to choose based upon whichever you selected. So once again, let me go to this screen so you can see. So you're going to choose on total physical response, A or B. and you'll view that on your device. And when you get finished with that 2 or 3 minutes, you'll go back to simulations on the Google Doc, and you'll select either A or B to watch. So it'll take like maybe 5 to 7 minutes to do both of these. And so you'll need that time as a participant to explore. And Tracy and I will sit here awkwardly while you all do that. But before I get started with that timer, does anybody have a question about accessing that Google Doc, finding, the actual links to this? Does anybody have a question about accessing those videos? No. Okay, I will go ahead and start this timer. But if you have any questions during the meantime, please feel free to chat and we'll take a look at that. All right, 7 minutes. Here we go.
I did just try to open the, can you hear me? Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
The AP Human Geography, and it's saying it's failed to open. So let me see if I can try the other one.
Okay.
Let's see what happens.
And if you have trouble with that, I'll open that one for you, and we can just watch it since it's a smaller group today. But yeah, you let me know what you prefer.
I wonder if it's because you're in a school. I can access it. Do you think maybe your school has it blocked?
All right.
I'm a teacher from Los Angeles.
The second one opened for me, but
Oh, okay, well,
maybe I'll try it again. Maybe it's just, maybe it is a thing with my internet. So let me try it again. Sometimes just need to do it twice. Let's see. Yeah, it's opening.
Okay, cool. All right, thanks for checking that out.
Oh, I need to figure out how to mute myself again.
I'm going to go to stop share for just a bit. Take about 3 more minutes if you do need it. About 1 more minute. All right, you might find yourself a good place to stop if you haven't already, and we'll come back together and take a look at the remaining slides that we have. So as we give some participants a minute or two to kind of just get collected and finish that out, I'll just kind of review some of the comments that we have in chat if you guys haven't had a chance to check that out. So we've got some comments on that total physical response. And so we can see, according to that definition there, students are acting out physical gestures to represent vocabulary words. And like, truthfully, my instinct as like a classroom teacher would be like, oh, okay, this is how we're going to do this. But Bethany made a good point that allowing students to come up with the gestures and the movements, that's going to stick better, you know, because they own it. It was something relevant that for them that resonated.
Yes. Yep.
And so you guys feel free to continue to drop those comments in the chat if you would like, but just to be mindful of our time, I'll go ahead and continue through here. We kind of, maybe I will. Internet's just a little bit sticky right now. Sorry, Tracy.
That's
so
okay.
we kind of already jumped ahead to how we might use the movement or how we might see this. I'm trying to think. I'm really real curious, Erlene, if you're able to hang around with us, either you can comment now or later. I'm curious to see how you might use that total physical response in a language class.
Yeah, I can talk now. It's okay.
Yeah, thank you.
If, yeah, I was trying to look for research on it because I remember doing this when I was like in 6th grade in California. So my teacher was she was a musician, a singer and piano player and everything. And we were in a gifted class, and we learned words, spelling words that were beyond 6th grade. And we did those with a metronome and all kinds of different, like, one day the girls were the vowels and the boys were the consonants. So you had to stand up and say the letter. And then she did it with, like, everyone had a letter, or maybe you had 2 different letters and you had to, like, raise your hand and lift up the letter. Or we even did it like where we walked forward with one thing, backward with another. We were doing all kinds of crazy stuff. And I haven't seen anybody do anything like that. And I was looking for research, but I think I was looking too specific, right? I was looking for, like, metronome to spell words, but I'm thinking that's something I would do even to spell French words, just because getting up and moving around and saying, like, if your right hand is one letter and not everybody has the same letters, then we make a dance finally, right? With
Yes.
what we do.
Yes, that's great. I've even heard of Twister the same way. I mean, not an actual Twister board, but where a teacher creates the same thing and it's letters instead of colors, like a Twister board. Yes, that's great.
And yeah, I would think that even, like, as you say them, since we have accent marks in French as well, so I'm teaching them already the accent marks, like, to have your voice do something different when, when you do the accent mark, or because of the way they slant, right? You could jump up if it's the circumflex to make all kinds of different stuff.
That would be cool. I'll add on that I think it would be important in those types of activities where you deconstruct the word, that the student in the end owns the whole word. Yeah. So that they in the end have to write the whole word spelled out, so that they own putting it all back together. I know with, like, the super littles learning how to read, we deconstruct words, but in the end we always put them all back together so that student owns the whole word in its entirety at the end. So I think that might be something that could be helpful to kind of crystallize what that word is in its entirety.
Cool. Good. Thank you. That's really good.
So Earlene, the examples that you gave, do you think that's something that you could do both in a traditional classroom as well as remotely? Would you have to adapt it in any way?
Yeah, I guess. I'm trying to think, because of course I can do less with their legs, maybe.
Yeah.
but maybe not. I mean, there's no reason why they can't stand back farther from the screen. I think we get stuck thinking we need to be this close.
Right.
Maybe we don't, right? And maybe, I'm trying to think about the number of students I have as well. Or maybe I have to pick words that have some of the same letters because of the timing, right? So maybe my word choices are a little bit, the word choices are mine, but the movements that they decide to make with each letter are theirs.
Okay.
So I'm thinking of a time constraint.
So I'm not sure if I'm understanding the exact scenario, but, like, it's making me think about that activity that Tracy had us, well, it wasn't really an activity, but she had us do something at the beginning with Zoom where we could rename ourselves. And I don't know how much of how much history you guys are covering within the sections of within your sections of French that you're covering, but I wonder if there's some way you could use that feature if you do Zoom with your kids, like if they could renumber, like, both to group them, but also, like, if they were doing, like, chronological events, like, okay, well, you're the first person and then you're the second, and then, like you said, you stand at your computer and do something. I don't know.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
That's nice of you to say so, because I'm just, like, doing this on the fly. So
No. I'm thinking, okay, because I wouldn't have thought of that option, but I think there's something to be done there. Maybe, or maybe even, like, odds and even numbers. Like, if you wanted to do consonants and vowels, right? You could just have them number off and make them separate. Then you don't have to do it boys and girls, for example. Or you can switch them around really quick so that this group does one thing, this group does another. Yeah. I don't know. I'm also thinking on the fly as well.
Yeah, I know you've got a lot of really good ideas rolling around in your brain right now. They probably just need, like, a quiet space to kind of get them organized, but that's cool that you have so many innovative ideas to approach that. You'll have to keep us updated on those, like which you choose and what you feel worked out okay. Can you guys see the movement screen right now? Like, am I in fact screen sharing?
We see you right now.
Okay, let's try to remedy that.
That's okay. And then I think we can go to the research.
Yeah, let's go ahead and do that.
Okay, so just to recap, physical movement, and the research confirms these, that improves mental clarity and attention spans, which sounds counterintuitive, but it actually improves our students' attention spans. It improves their academic performance. It improves behavior, especially in those who struggle with the sit down and be quiet and, the quiet type classroom. It improves their behavior. It improves test scores, and it improves our emotional well-being. So researchers used to think that our emotional well-being, academics, and our physical bodies were three separate entities, but actually now they believe that they're so interconnected that when one struggles, the others are brought down, and vice versa. When one soars, the others are brought up. So that's just something to keep in mind. Physical exercise provides an unparalleled stimulus, creating an environment in which the brain is ready, willing, and able to learn. So on that note, we are going to go into just a little brain break. This kind of gives a throwback to our chunking strategy that I believe you were with us for the first time when we did chunking. So this is something that unscripted. The slide at the very beginning that had the kids dancing was called Go Noodle. That's something a lot of primary school teachers use in their classrooms to get their kids up. In between activities, it can be a cleanup. It can be from moving from math to language. But this one is unscripted. You could give your students motions that you wanted them to do, or it could legitimately just be, here's our 30-second break, and we just get up and get our wiggles out. So.
Do you want me to play this, Tracy?
Sure. Just for a couple seconds. Yes.
For sure I am not dancing for you guys on the screen, but I will play you a few seconds of this because why not?
I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. You like to move it. I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. You like to move it. I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. You like to move it.
That's good. Thank you.
I mean, you kind of get the idea, right?
Right. So it's really, you can use Just Dance videos. You remember the old Wii, and you would get up and dance around and try to do that. They even have those on YouTube now. So just something to get your kids out of the desk. I know I used to say, stand up and touch 3 walls before you come back to your desk, just to get them moving again and hopefully not slobbering on the desk as they fall asleep because they're listening to a lecture, just to get them moving and their brain becomes active again. Once we do that, even if it's just 10 seconds, it's enough to catch our brains back up. So just, I've given you several ways, and just to reflect, when could we use these? We could use dance breaks, Go Noodle, or Just Dance anytime, transition times, cleanup time, several things that we've mentioned. So that becomes when is the best time, end of the day or after lunch, so that you can help them settle back in. Especially some primary school teachers have specific songs for specific tasks, and that's when those kids know to do certain things. So it kind of becomes an audio cue also. So this kind of ends the portion that we are bringing about new information, and then we are going to move into a reflection, and Candace will walk you through that.
Thanks, Tracy. So we're going to reflect on today's learning with a 2-lens reflection. This is a protocol or an activity that you can use with your students as well, just as a temperature gauge for their understanding. So you'll notice on this particular image that each lens is numbered, and that's just for your convenience if you choose to use chat instead of just unmuting. So when you do respond in chat, you can simply type a 1 in your response, or a 2 in your response, just so you don't have as much to type for time's sake. And so this lens reflection, again, on the left for 1, we have, I used to think something about movement in classroom, but now I see that movement in the classroom, and so on. So I'll see if I can drop something for us in chat here as well. If this will let me copy it.
I used to think it was a little bit for younger kids, but now I see that it's essential. Even as an adult, I just cannot sit for 8 hours on end,
No, and I feel like this virtual setting that we've all had, I have to be really mindful of hey, I haven't moved in 4 hours.
Right.
You get to that point where you're no longer productive. And I was so guilty. I was the worst about that as a classroom teacher. I don't have 10 minutes to go walk around outside. I need to go run copies or make phone calls or those things you don't really get to do as a teacher so often. So I used to think that I'll drop something in chat, but I'll share something real with you. I used to think that for movement, compliance was the same thing as engagement. So they're all sitting still and they're all paying attention, so they must be learning something. Or they're all looking at the same computer screen, so they must be learning. And so now I see that with movement, you can't fake engagement. Like you're engaged or you're not, but it makes something really abstract a little bit more concrete. And so you can continue to contribute your reflections in the chat, but we're going to use this as a basis for our extended conversation after this session for those of you guys that are able to join us. But again, you feel free to keep dropping those thoughts into chat.
Arlene mentioned a great one. She mentioned that movement, she used to think created chaos, but now she realizes that movement creates calm. It allows them to get that chaos moment finished with and pack it away, and then it come back to a calm nature. So that's good.
Yeah, and like again, just to be like anecdotal, I have seen that with my own child. She's little, she's just like 5, almost 5, but I see that with her because, you know, I want to keep on going until the task is done. And like, that is what we are seeing with this research. That is not how we learn. Like, we shut down, and it's not even that our kids, they're not even really being belligerent. It is just that you get to that point and you cannot move forward so that's part of the reason that we wanted to address some of these brain-based strategies that we'll just real quickly review. Before I burn through these though, Tracy, did I overlook anybody else's comment in chat? I don't want to ignore anyone.
No.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So during this session, we've explored the brain science supporting movement in the classroom. We experienced some of those virtual movement strategies, and we have selected movement strategies to implement either in class or through remote. So within this mini session series, we've addressed these brain-based strategies so far. Tracy kind of mentioned this earlier. So we've talked about chunking, using visuals, collaboration, and today we're rounding this out talking about movement. So just as a reminder, if you're interested in viewing or reviewing any of these sessions, both for our series or for another, you can find them on the Rural Life site that we dropped into chat at the beginning of this session, or by accessing the QR codes, and that's on slides 5 and 21. So before I turn this over to Tracy, just thank you guys for joining us today and taking time to engage in what might have seemed like silly little activities, but thanks for sticking with us so that we could see that actually there's brain science behind this. We hope this has been helpful to you guys. And so now I'll turn this over to Tracy, and she can share some final thoughts and resources with us.
So this is the same format that we have used throughout our mini sessions. The first column there, if you're interested in learning more about classroom movement and its effect on the brain and learning, that first column is for you. The second column is geared more toward those of you who are teaching virtually or even in a hybrid method. And the last one is just brain-based activities that can be easily implemented into your classroom, whether it's the little protocol activity strategies that Candace uses as a reflection, or whether it's movement, or some of the websites I mentioned, like Go Noodle. So that will all be there for you on the materials page if you can access the Google Doc or the QR code. And then lastly, we have a 1-minute survey, and the survey is literally just to get feedback on what you would like to hear more about, what you would like to learn more about. We appreciate you being with us. And we'd like you to reflect on your thoughts about the session, and we're always looking for more ways to improve. So if you will access that 1-minute survey, we would appreciate it. And again, we thank you for being with us. You can find all of these materials on the Rural Life page, and we appreciate it, and we hope and wish you the best of years.
So we are going to hang around for a little while, and we'll have an extended conversation here in just a bit, but we just want to give participants a chance to access that link and maybe just take again that 1 minute to take care of that and give us some feedback. So we'll resume. If you're able to stay with us or join us, we'll resume in about a minute or so.
trying to find there. Now I'm unmuted. Oh my goodness, all of these buttons. I would love to speak with you all more because I love movement. I don't know if I told you before the last time, but I taught exercise and I was a dancer. So I did have a hard time the first days, but maybe because I didn't know the kids. I was trying to get them to do other things instead of always giving me a thumbs up or like nodding their head. And I was trying to get them to come up with their own physical, but I think they didn't know me and they just thought it was weird. I think they might do it now because we know each other a little bit better. Because I was like, yeah, I want you to do something else. I want you, you know, because I'm tired of looking at thumbs ups. I want something different.
I know I always told my kids, to my students, like, you know, give me some, like, I don't know, if you're doing like a real quick, like, I get it, like a 3, 2, 1, like, I get it, I kind of get it, please stop talking. I get, like, give me some PG fingers, like, but I like what you're saying there, like, you kind of letting them choose the different gestures that they're going to use.
Yeah. And I'm wondering, because since they're each one in their own house, or sometimes their little brothers and sisters are there, whether they're less inclined to do it,
Yeah.
you know, because I think maybe like in a group setting, if you have enough that go, the others go too. You know, they're kind of carried into the momentum and like they don't care. Everybody's looking silly. I guess it's up to me to look the most silly to help them out.
No, that resonates with me because like the other day I was running through this session and I had that I like to move it video playing, and I had told my husband, I was like, you need to watch Quinn for a minute so that I can go up here and work. And he was like, you're not moving, you're watching goofy videos online. And I was like, I'm working, this is work. Go babysit.
Yeah.
So I'll go ahead and share my screen again, just to kind of go back to, so we can see what those questions were. Or, again, it was really just like a reflective piece, like how our perception has changed about movement. And Erling, we can really cater this conversation to you if you would like, because I think you've got some insight and some pretty innovative ways of considering how to use movement in the classroom. I did want to ask you though, or mention the, I'm gonna stop sharing. The research, you had mentioned that earlier, that you were looking for some different research to maybe support what you're doing in the classroom. I just wanted to point out that we do have that bibliography page, that slide in there, but also on some of those activity slides that Tracy and I have, in the lower right corner, you might notice like those hyperlinks. So that might take you to a short video or a short article. Like, you know, if you do have an administrator who's like, what y'all doing in there and why are you doing it? Yeah. So Tracy, you might pick up on that conversation because you have administrative background, and that was a conversation you and I had like, what if your principal walks in during all this?
Absolutely. I think any principal who's worth his or her salt is going to appreciate the fact that you have the students engaged. Not that they're not going to be bothered by the fact that they're out of their seat, as long as they are engaged in the lesson, and having a small brain break is just part of that lesson. So I think in your case, Erlene, I could totally see you doing some sort of French music and teaching them a stretch pose, and then they get back in their seats and they learn some more vocabulary or so on. So chaos is not necessarily people moving around, right? Chaos is no order. Movement doesn't have to be orderless. We still have order. It's just in short bursts and times, just enough for us to get a little break.
Yeah, I was already thinking, you know, before we went to this virtual, that when they told me I had 80 minutes, I was like, oh no, I'm not going to sit still for 80 minutes, right? So I was like, we are definitely going to have a break in the middle and stand up and breathe and stretch, because I don't know how anybody functions sitting down all day. I don't think it's healthy. I don't think it's good for any of your digestive system, your skeletal system, anything. So
Right.
I was already thinking about doing that, but yeah, I was having a hard time. Yeah, so this is good. This confirms for me a lot of things that I wanted to do, or was thinking about doing, and then kind of stopped a bit because I thought, oh no, I don't have any information, any backup science to say that it's, yeah. I think that dancers know that we feel better if we move, right? I don't, again, I don't know how people sit in a chair all day. It's not possible for me. Maybe I would be labeled now hyperactive, or, I would have a disorder, but I don't think that I do. I just think that it's the healthy thing to do, that to sit in a chair is not cool. And then I think there's a lot of stuff that modern dancers do. Like, I watched the video on the fractions, and I like this a whole lot. And I like, that she goes from a very simple thing to something very complex with the denominators and everything.
Yes.
And this is somehow what dancers do anyway, right? We're always experimenting, where someone says, okay, so stand on one leg, but stand on, how loose can you tip over? Can you jump and do it? Can you tilt backwards? Can you test out all the different dimensions? Yeah. And all the imbalance. How far can you go out of balance without completely losing balance? And I think that, I think that's a philosophical question.
Oh,
right?
there's a life lesson in that, to be sure. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's interpretive. It's like lyrical dance meets math.
Right.
So it's very interpretive. So that gives them that creative expression also, in addition to moving their bodies.
Yeah. And I think there's something else, like for math and dance, for me, is very close in choreography, because even if, I don't know if you ever go to see dance shows, but I always try to get up one level, because I don't want to see like this. I don't want to see the people. I want to see the patterns that come out. I want to see how the choreographers move people around and take in the one phrase and manipulate it so it's like theme and variations. So there's a lot of stuff to be done in space, and moving around. So I would like to get rid of lots of these desks.
There's a geometry lesson in there somewhere trying to come out. Yeah.
Tracy, what Erlena's saying, it really makes me think of that slide that you reviewed with us. It was that the quick research confirms, like how we used to think like of things in isolation. We used to think about our content areas too. Like in real life, it's not like, well, Monday I'm going to do math, and Tuesday I'm going to, like, you do life. And so I think that's kind of cool that researchers are confirming this. I think it's really interesting to see different teachers like Erlene, like yourself, that you're trying to kind of experiment with that. I don't want to cut off anybody's conversation, but I did want to go ahead and mention to you, I'm going to drop a link in the chat. I think I had referenced literary yoga on one of our slides, but I wanted to give you the link here, and I can probably actually share my screen if that's easier, maybe. I don't know, we'll see.
No, this is so cool.
Can you guys see this yoga in the classroom?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is on Ashley Bible's Building Book Club. If you know her, you love her. If you don't, then like just read up on her, check her out on Instagram. She's like yourself, really, she's very innovative. But I thought this was cool what she's offering, and I do, like, disclosure, I do think this is like a product, a part of a product that she is featuring. But she gives like a pretty good little preview of this. So she's taking like different yoga moves and she's connecting it. So she taught, I think she taught 12th grade English. So she's connecting yoga moves to what she did with her kids in an English class. So you see the flat back, then they will be talking about like flat characters or static characters. And then let me see if I can expand this. We can see this a little bit better. Like, I like this one here where she is, she talks about like the chair pose. That's supposed to produce like powerful leg muscles. As you're in the chair pose, think of a powerful quote. So whatever like you're addressing, I guess in French class, that if there's something particularly interesting or powerful that they should think about. And then you can kind of see like on her preview of these task cards here, some of the different things that she has made available to her students. But I just wanted to share that resource with you. And again, that link is in the chat if you do want to kind of explore it. But that kind of sounds like something, Arlene, that might be right up your alley. Like, instead of like just the generic, like stand at your desk and like, I don't know, touch your toes or whatever, like you could really incorporate purposeful movement that's connected to what you're doing in your content academically.
Right. I'm thinking like going back to that idea of like spelling out the words, or that the kids would have created a movement, a choreography for work, I can totally see that if they had to do a test, that instead of thinking, what does that look like, they would do this to remember it, right? Because dancers know that we have muscle memory, that create a pathway. And you can ask me what I danced 20 years ago, and I might be like, let me stand, I have to stand up, right? And I have to start to do it, and it will come back to me because the muscle memory is there. I won't remember, you know, the counts or anything in the beginning, but I'll get it because I have to do it. Yeah. So I think that would be fun. I would love to have kids that remember things by moving around and taking a test like that. That test taking might be fun, right? And they might, and I wouldn't even care if they saw someone else move, you know, and to be like, oh yeah, I can't remember what the movement was after, but then link it to somebody else moving. I think like that's another, it wouldn't be cheating, right? It's just another step it has to go through.
Yeah.
Because maybe they learn by seeing somebody else instead of doing the movement themselves. So I'd be like, not even cheating. Go ahead and move around.
I love that. It makes me think of when I was in the classroom doing vocabulary work where, yes, the movement was the vocabulary word, or we would use movement to remember like processes that we needed, like different parts of, like different types of writing activities or types of writing. We would put movements to different elements that we wanted to be like in a persuasive essay, or the elements we wanted to be in a narrative. We would tie movement, and I would see them at their desk like moving and trying to remember, and then others would, just to your point, I was like, I don't care, like something that's going to jog your memory because I know it's there. And then it also makes me wonder if for French too, like my son is in band, and so they're using Flipgrid to do individual playing practice that they then send to their teacher. But I even wonder if there's like some vocabulary work that kids could do on Flipgrid that was also movement based. Like I'm like, here's this vocabulary word, here's a movement I came up with, and they kind of talk to you about why they chose this movement for that vocabulary word, and if that might help it stick for some kids, just the movement and then the processing it out loud and telling someone about it. And then there might be some that surface that the whole class could kind of like and start to do, but I don't know, there's just such potential there for all of this.
Yeah, I had them do already like a graphic organizer for 5 words that I chose. And they weren't even just words, they were like phrases sometimes, like you had to say merci beaucoup, like thank you very much. And I had them do antonyms and synonyms, and then draw a picture. And I was like, don't go into the thesaurus, right? I don't want the official synonym for the word. I want what you think the synonym would be or what the antonym would be. And to get very creative with that, right? And so I told them, I have a friend who, she remembers merci beaucoup by saying merci buckets, because bucket sounds like beaucoup. And she has this visual thing of someone carrying buckets with a bunch of thank you cards coming out of it, right? So and I always think of that, right? When I say merci beaucoup, I'm like, yeah, it's a lot of thank yous. and some of them did really nice things, right? This is exciting. So more visual than movement based, but still I think reaching out to those other parts of the brain that can hook something in, right?
Yes. And I think that ties all of them back together. The chunking, the visuals, the collaboration, and the movement all are those brain-based strategies that, again, are not in isolation. They all work together to help us to bring back that which we have learned, but is maybe sometimes a little far back there. So you brought up a good point.
And it made me wonder, like if a kid has just one that's like, wow, that's really clever, or that's cute, like, you know, one, they might be willing to share it with the class, or you could even maybe post it on your, you know, learning management system. But if they're kind of shy, you know, you could talk with them about how to do it, and you could model it and post it, and kids could rewatch it and help them study. You know, almost like I'm watching somebody move, and it's helping me remember what this word means or this phrase means, especially phrases. I think that'd be a really cool way to help you remember groups of words and how they go together. So that could be really neat too.
Because I think sometimes language is not, I don't want them to memorize one word after the other, right? I want them to know that il n'y a pas de quoi is a way to say like, you're welcome. Because even you're welcome doesn't make any sense if you like really break it down. Yeah. French people come to America and they think everybody's welcoming them to America, right? Because when they hear you're welcome, they're thinking, oh, everybody's saying, yeah, welcome. No, you're just saying, yeah. So this idea that we group things together anyway. So a lot of the study of language as well, and how we access language. Yeah, right now I'm not doing a lot of spelling or grammar. Yeah. Because I just want them to be comfortable speaking. I want them to be comfortable making mistakes, making the wrong sounds, learning how to make the new sounds.
So you're trying to build fluency with your kids right now, it sounds like.
Yeah. I studied, I did 2 years of French in high school, and then I did many more hours at the university. And then it was almost like I knew too much, like I knew too many grammar tenses that I would never use to speak. And I get to France and I can't speak because I have too much information that doesn't come out of my mouth. I just have it all in here. And I'm seeing other people who never studied French come over, just listen, mimic, and then start speaking, and they speak faster than I did. So I was like, no, there's something else to be done in this way, right? I think there's something else to be done. I want them to at least be able to carry on a small conversation, to meet somebody and say hi and introduce themselves. Where if I meet the kids that took last year, I'm like, oh, you took French all the way to 1, 2, bonjour. And they all look at me like frozen, that they can't say anything. And I'm like, the minimum is that you can say bonjour to me, like the minimum, right? You should also be able to tell me your name. And I don't know if it's fear because they're afraid of making the sounds wrong, right? I don't know. And so what I really want my students just to be like, you're going to say it wrong in the beginning, that's for sure, right? So we just have to get over the fear of saying it wrong and just practice it. And I think movement, if we're coming back to today's discussion, movement is that too, right? Nobody stands up and does a double pirouette the first time.
Right.
You have to practice, and you have to break it down and do it over and over again. And, and even if you know how to do it, maybe you ate something bad yesterday, or maybe the weather's wrong today. And you expect that, yeah, I cannot just get up and do it again. Just because I knew how to do it yesterday doesn't mean I can do it today. I have to practice again.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Can I be in Madam Hopkins' French class?
I know. You audit your class. Is that a thing? Can we do that in high school?
We're just going to zoom in and learn a little too.
My thing is that I have like all these ideas and I have this philosophy of it, but I'm still new to teaching, and I'm trying to back it up with the right things, and I'm trying to remember all the protocols. I'm trying to remember to tell them what they're going to learn, and then repeat, and then tell them at the end what they learned, and all those things that I know that are necessary, but I just don't have that practice. So I'm also practicing.
There you go. And we all make mistakes, and we'll all just keep learning from it, right?
Yes.
Thank you so much for sharing so much of your time and your story with us.
Earlene, you can access this. We've talked about this earlier, but you can access our contact information. I've dropped my email, and then Tracy and maybe Bethany, they might want to drop theirs in there as well. We would love to hear from you and your progress with all of what you're doing with your brain strategies and, and so on. But yeah, don't feel obligated or anything, but it sounds cool. Like, it sounds really interesting and innovative. So you feel free to reach out to us either with, hey, this is cool and it worked, or any questions that you might have, and we would be glad to help you. Again, if you feel like you want to kind of support your practice with some of the research that is out there. So there's our contact information if you do want it. And like Bethany said, thank you so much for joining us. I'm always so pleased when I get to see your sweet face and your name on our participants list. So thanks again for giving us so much of your time after what I'm sure was a busy day already teaching. So thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you guys. I just told you last time, I'm happy to speak with adults. Yeah.
Yes, because you're a high school teacher. I feel you on that.
Yeah, and speak with adults that know more than I do about something, and yeah, that are willing to like say, oh, maybe that can work. Because not that the teachers here are not open to that, but you know, everybody's struggling right now to just figure out what's going on. There's not a lot of like if I say, hey, can you listen to my thing? What do you think? They're like, don't have time. Gotta put some modules up. Gotta do this stuff. Which I understand, and everybody's tired, and yeah. So it's just it's a good place to come to and hear other things and know that there are other people trying things, and yeah, a good place to share. Yeah.
We appreciate it. Yeah, you're very reflective about your practice. We appreciate you sharing.
Well, thank you. I hope so. And yeah, like I said, I would already do things different. If I could go back in time 4 weeks, I would already do them different, but you know, whatever. I just keep going and
keep pressing on. That's right. Yeah.
I've taken notes. So when I look at my notes in a year, I'll be like, oh yeah, remember you said you weren't going to do that.
Whatever. That's cool though, that you're like trying to reflect in the moment even. But,
yeah. I can't get it all down, but I know that I would already do it different. So. Yeah. All right.
Well, I hope the rest of your week goes very well, and that you are able to just slowly, whenever you feel comfortable, just incorporate some of this. And I know you will, because that dancer will come out of you.
yes.
Yes, I think even when I speak and stuff, I'm always moving around. So yeah.
Hopefully we'll see you in some other sessions.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Bye.
You guys have a good evening. Ciao.
You too.
Hey Bethany, can I ask you a quick question?
Yeah.
This recording, how is this set up? Like, will John get this automatically? Like, do I need to send something to him? How does that work?
It should either pop up in my email or his that it was recorded, and then either way he can do his magic.
Okay, and then Tracy, I will put our chat notes. I'll put that in our that last folder too,
Okay.
so that
Thank
we
you.
can be looking at those for our deep dive later. Okay.
And I hope it was okay. I added to the website your all's little that little choice activity that we did that had the you know which I'm
Yes.
talking about.
Yes.
So I added that. I just added it as like a resource that had examples of like lower grades and upper grades, and I love that. I hope maybe Friday you all will share out how you did that, because I think it was a great example of weaving in a little bit of like personalization and choice for participants, in that you thought about it from here's more like a lower grades example and here's more of an upper grades example, so that whoever joins can tailor which one they watch to maybe their grade level. So I love
Let me
that.
tell you real quick how Tracy helped me with that, because Friday I was like, Tracy, we could take this slide and we could change this slide and we could do this and we could do a choice board. And she was like, Candace, it's Friday. We're doing this Tuesday. I was like,
Are you the voice of reason?
yeah, you're right. Yeah. This partnership, like, I don't know how you decided on the groupings, but like this works because yeah, she's a good pH for me. She's neutralizing.
Well, Nancy has said how much she's enjoyed working with you all, and it's clear. I mean, I know I've not been to your other sessions, but just when I scroll through the materials and try to kind of keep up with what you all have been doing, I've been super impressed. Not that it matters that I'm impressed, but I've been impressed, and I hope that we get a chance after this whole series is over for us all to reflect with Nancy, because we're talking about this idea of how do you design high quality professional learning, because I've seen each of the pairs their own little take on things, and there's so much cool stuff that each pair has done that if we could just surface it for others to see and hear about, I think we'll all benefit from it.
Okay, that sounds good. All right, final note, Tracy Blue, good hire.
Well, we knew that for sure.
Thanks, ladies.
See you later.
Bye. Have a good night.
Thanks.